Get into the world of celebrities and Bravo Labs with What the Reality with me, Cachet Roberts. I discuss the mess of it all, from reality TV, Hey Housewives, to iconic pop culture moments in the making. We are talking about it all. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and a comment wherever you listen to your podcast. Welcome to the pod. You are listening to, oh my gosh, not my light about to fall. It's not my podcast. It's something don't go awry or whatever the word is. You are listening to What the Reality with me, Cachet Roberts. We are into part 2 of What's the Reality on Phaedra Parks and Kandi Burruss's friendship fallout. I posted a video on TikTok. The girls, they weren't coming for me, but they're like, there's no way you are team Phaedra. And what you guys don't realize is that was just the first part. We didn't even get into season 7, 8, 9. Like I said, I was on Phaedra's side literally until season 9, when I sniffed out the BS, just like everyone else. There wasn't really, if anything, I was team both of them because I really wanted them to be, friends again. However, that did not happen, as we all know. With Phaedra's return back onto, Real Housewives of Atlanta, it has definitely stirred up this whole, controversy of like, should she even be allowed back on the show? Because of everything that did happen before she exited stage left at the reunion. So in this part 2, we are going to close it out and we're going to give this friendship case a nice close, because we are now on season 16 of Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I do feel like at some point we got to let the mouse go, in my son's voice. I do think Phaedra was held accountable for her actions. Why does my light act like it still wants to fall? She was held accountable for her actions by being fired. I'm shocked. I'm not shocked she's back. I'm going to get into that because I just think it proves to show, what's the saying, that she was fed this. I genuinely believe that. And I also believe she had no problem repeating this because she was so jealous of Kandi. I think she was fed this information. There is no way to me that something like this happens and she's allowed to come back on the show. There is no way. So I'm always shocked that she is allowed back on the show and that Andy still loves her and that we kind of just like forgot about that. But yes, there is no way I was on Team Phaedra all this happened. I was actually very disappointed in her, and I really felt for Kandi because these are serious allegations, but we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about in this part 2, we're going to talk about the Kenya Moore of it all. We're talking about the Paulo of it all. We're talking about the Johnny of it all. Do you guys remember who Johnny is? I didn't. I had to do a recap. We're going to talk about the rumors on and off camera of, Phaedra being a criminal mastermind. We're going to talk about her and this Angela Stanton girl. And we are going to talk about season 9 reunion. So first, setting the scene. And part 1, we kind of lay the foundation of their friendship, what made them really good friends, and where things started to go awry in their friendship, which was, essentially Phaedra's divorce. Phaedra felt like Kandi did not support her when she was going through her divorce with Apollo. She felt like she was not supported by her good friend. Therefore, she was confiding in Nene Leakes a lot. And Kandi called her out on it. She's like, how are you cool with this girl all of a sudden when she's talked all of this crap about you? I had questions as well. And, Phaedra definitely has some resentment towards Kandi because Kandi had remained very open about, like, why don't you let him see the boys while he's in prison? Kandi had a cousin. The cousin was in prison, and she said, like, the mom still brought the kids up there and the kids are doing fine this day. And that was Phaedra's whole thing, her whole shtick, that if she would bring the boys up there, they're going to think this is normal when they see a bunch of black men in prison. Which I totally understand what she's talking about. But in the words of Kandi was just mostly like, well, I've experienced this in my family and the kids have turned out fine. And obviously Phaedra's kids are fine till this day. So that was a state of contention with their friendship. And then eventually we do get to season 7 when Apollo does turn himself in, which I don't believe I talked about. I stopped at season 6, but that's where we are picking up from everything that happened in season 7 through 9. I'm going to gloss over season 8 because we just know they were at war. Nothing really came of it. I want to really get into season 9 though, because there's so much to unpack there. Okay, I had to reword that. So we did talk about season 7 on the first part. I'm talking about the fallout from season 7 and 8, and then we're really going to get into season 9 and all of the drama from that, because it is a lot. And then eventually, of course, the reunion and where these ladies stand now. So the fallout from season 7, like I was saying, and 8 is the fallout of Phaedra becoming a single parent, her going through her divorce with Apollo, or like filing the divorce. They were going through a divorce for like 2 seasons, I believe. So we do hear phone calls between them, but before that, let's touch on his going away, which I briefly don't believe I talked about in my first part, or I can't remember. Y'all, it's late. A little recap can't hurt anybody, especially when we're coming to this, because there's so many details in it. So obviously season 7, Apollo turned himself in for conspiracy to commit wire, mail, and some other form of fraud. And the word back then was that Phaedra was in on this the whole time. She was the criminal mastermind. That's what the streets were saying. So then we get Apollo about to turn himself in. We get that final, like, goodbye of him on screen in season 7. It was a garage scene, him holding up the, what was it? Like the, what is the word? I was going to call it a blowhorn. Not the blowhorn, but the axe, not the axe. I cannot think. It was something. And she was like, Apollo, go away with me from this. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot think of it. But yes, so that was the last we kind of seen of Apollo before he went off. Obviously, he was calling Cynthia, Peter, telling them she won't let me visit my kids. And that's when I said Kandi was like, well, why won't you let him visit his kids? All of that stuff. And Phaedra was kind of looking at her like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm not going to have the kids go up there. And then we do throughout these seasons get like the phone calls between them. They're trying to make it as nice for the boys. They are only talking for the boys. I remember she did something for his birthday while he was in prison. That's kind of how that relationship ends. We don't see Apollo back on the show, clearly, until Sheree brought him on. Sheree's messy butt a couple of years later. And then we get Phaedra eventually going to the prison with the boys and allowing them to see him. They were there for a minute. It was a whole thing. She did not want to go there, but she went there because she's like, let me go have my boys see their father, which was a very emotional moment for her. She went with her mom, and her mom couldn't even go in. The cameras couldn't go in. You know, it was a whole thing. You guys remember Teresa Giudice was in prison. You can't go in, not the cameras, and only a select number of people. So then, like I said, Phaedra is growing very close to Nene at this point before Nene departs the show, before coming back again for season 13. Or was it season 13 she came back? Before coming back. And then, or I think it was season 11 she probably came back. But Phaedra... Okay, so we have that, and then we have Kandi and Phaedra's different friendships that are placing a stain on their friendship. And I said that because I think because Phaedra got so close with Nene and Kandi didn't like that, and that's okay because I understand why, because it's like this girl claimed to not know you from Athens, and then we have this girl that was actively trying to not pursue Apollo, but she made it known that Apollo was cute. She crossed the line with Apollo too many times, Kenya. I will stay true to that. She did cross the line with him, and now we see Kandi kind of getting cool with her, and that's something that Phaedra disliked. So both of their friendships, both of their habits of forming friendships with people the two don't even like, it was kind of just like the ultimate rest in peace to y'all relationship, basically. And then we get a reunion. This is season 7 reunion after Apollo turns himself in. We get Phaedra alluding to the fact that Apollo did abuse her because of that garage scene. It is driving me crazy that I cannot think of the tool he had. I had to do a quick search because I was like, what is it called? It was a power drill. And I remember that scene. You guys, I'm sure, remember it. He was supposed to report to prison that day, and he did a pop-up, and Phaedra was in the middle of changing the locks because she did not want him to have the codes to anything, all of that stuff. And he even whispered to her ear, like whispered in her ear. He was being super creepy. He was like coming at her with the drill, and she was like, go away with me from this. He was asking her, why are you cheating on me? All of this stuff. And needless to say, Phaedra and Apollo are on better terms today. Better terms. I mean, Apollo just announced he has an adult son that looks exactly like him. I don't know how good terms they are on now, but they were on better terms as of Married to Medicine and Real Housewives of Atlanta. All of that stuff before he went out. So season 8, we really get some continuation before the season 9 epic blowout. So season 8, Phaedra learns that Kandi and Todd are storing Apollo's items in their home, in their garage, I think. So Phaedra said what really tripped me up was when someone was like, hey, can I buy Apollo's thing? And she was like, she had no clue where that came from because Phaedra was not keeping his items at this point. And then she found out that it was Apollo. Not Apollo, Kandi and Todd. And I always say this was obviously a sticky situation. I mean, how would you feel? Your friend, or, y'all on the outs, but it's still like your friend. So it's like your friend is keeping your ex's items while he's in prison. Like, that just don't even sound right. So that's why I always said I was on Phaedra's side, because I didn't like how Kandi acted so oblivious to the fact of, like, her trying to be neutral. There's only so long you could be neutral, and it's like I felt like she was like bowing down to Todd because she was in that new relationship with him and they were in their honeymoon phase. And I feel like Todd, for the longest, and this is still an opinion I have as long as they were on the show, is constantly trying to show that he's the man when really he got with the woman. And I always feel like he feels emasculated. So I feel like this was one thing he really fought her on. He's like, well, I'm going to store my friend's items while he's in prison. Apollo was in prison for 6 years. Yeah, he went for 6 years. He's like, I'm gonna store his stuff. You cannot fight me on this. This is my good friend. Your good friend you met on the show, Phaedra introduced you to Kandi. So I just felt like as a friend, that was definitely very wrong. And that is what really stirred it up. But even Mama Joyce wanted Kandi and Phaedra to get back on good terms. She did not want them on bad terms as of season 8. Okay, so the whole storing of the motorcycle, I think that's kind of when Phaedra plotted her revenge. Her revenge that we are about to get into, which was all of season 9, the sneak stuff that was going on. So in season 9, there was already that animosity between Phaedra and Kandi because of the motorcycle, because of, Kandi not shutting down the infidelity rumors. The infidelity rumors that Phaedra was talking to a Mr. Chocolate. Kandi really didn't feel or think anything of it because she was like, you were happy when he was going away. Those were the rumors. It's like you had already moved on. That was already a thing. So she didn't necessarily shut it down. So Phaedra and Kandi, let's get into the sit down they have during season 9, and Phaedra is hoping to really clear the air. Instead, a lot of stuff gets revealed. So Phaedra says that she doesn't say this, but I just think she was shocked that Kandi, she did say, made such light of the situation of her divorce. And this is where I think Phaedra was low-key jealous, high-key jealous of Kandi. And then she was like, what did she say? She says something along the lines of, well, what are you upset about? You are newly married. Your life is going perfectly well. I'm the one going through a divorce. And it's just kind of like, it was giving jealous. It's like, because my life is going through such a terrible time. Why aren't you there for me? Like, what do you have to stress about? What do you have to worry about? Another point of contention when she's going through her divorce and Kandi's not reaching out to her, because Kandi's like, well, you didn't reach out to me. At the time, Kandi's play had got canceled or something, and she was nervous and scared about the future of her employees. And Phaedra's response to that was kind of like, well, if money made me sleep better at night, I would sleep like a baby, when Kandi wasn't even making about that. Another thing where I think Phaedra kind of assumes Kandi's life is perfect because of the wealth and the access to power she has, something that Phaedra deeply wants, and it's something that Phaedra has always really wanted. And I do think that's kind of where we kind of see Phaedra turn into this villain when she calls herself, oh, now I'm not the villain at season 9 reunion, but you really are the villain. And she tries to say, like, in this conversation, this initial conversation of season 9, when she's trying to clear it up with Kandi, she's like, well, your life seems to be going fine. So, like, why would you be upset with me, hold any resentment towards me? I'm the one, my life's in shambles. I'm the one adjusting to a married single life. And she was like, I'm just shocked you presented my divorce so light. And Kandi's like, well, I'm shocked because you presented it light to me. And that's when the conversation clearly makes a left. Like, you could tell Phaedra was not anticipating that, because you could tell when Phaedra goes quiet, she's trying to think of something to say quick, because she wasn't prepared for Kandi to respond like that. She thought Kandi was going to be apologizing to her, but Kandi was not. So then the conversation, like I said, it turns left there, and I sense some resentment on Phaedra's part, because why are you bringing up that her life's so perfect? Like, she just got married, you know, she's living fine, like, she doesn't have to worry about this. Like, what made you want to say that? And so then what else happens? Kandi says that Phaedra was already seeing people, and this is when she kind of drops the bomb. So after Phaedra's like, your life's perfect, what are you upset about? And then she was like, I'm still adjusting and being like a single mom and like doing this all on my own. It's very difficult for me. My partner went to prison. And Kandi's like, well, you were already talking to people before he even went, seemingly confirming the Mr. Chocolate rumors. She was like, that's why it was so light to me, because you're calling me saying, oh my gosh, like, I found this person. He may be the one, like, he takes good care of me, all of this stuff. And the conversation is essentially like a huge blowout, and they never really get back on track from that. And that happened earlier in the season, because I think they were still trying to play catch up from their falling out, kind of, that started in season 6 and 7. And then, like I said, 8, when she's storing the belongings, which is wrong, in my opinion, that the revelation of a confirmation, the revelation of a confirmation that Phaedra was talking to someone, aka Mr. Chocolate. Phaedra did not want that on TV. She wanted to appear as this scorned woman that, you know, she saved this man from prison. She was his lawyer. She chose him. She showed him the right path in life. There's no way he would resort back to his old ways. He resorted back to his old ways. And Phaedra hated that Kandi put her on blast. She did. So what else happened? So throughout the season, the ladies throw shade, of course. And this is where kind of some rumors start. Some uncanny rumors, some rumors that have no facts behind them, and some rumors that would soon depict Phaedra's end on Real Housewives of Atlanta. This would kind of show her the door. This got her blacklisted for a while in reality TV. To my shock, she's back on reality TV. To y'all's shock, she is back on reality TV. We're all very shocked. Let's get into some other incidents that happened throughout the season. So we had a Todd versus Phaedra incident, and this was all about that Donkey DVD, and this was in season 6. Yeah, this was in season 6 when Kenya came on. So in season 6, you know, Kenya and Portia came on. Kenya and Phaedra formed a very quick friendship, and Kenya had made multiple, I don't want to say passes, but she had made multiple remarks that, you know, Apollo is kind of fine, in my Kenya voice. And that ended up being something totally inappropriate on both parties. And I believe that's why her and Phaedra's relationship turned sour. There was also these competing DVD booty workout videos, which I personally believe Kenya was so wrong to come up with a stallion booty video. when Phaedra had the donkey video that Kenya was supposed to be helping her on because Kenya was a producer. So once they had fallen out, Kandi and Todd helped Phaedra to get it on DVD, get it on CD, and get it distributed. And the main issue that I have to go back. The main issue that Phaedra had with it, or why Todd apparently wasn't paid, was because it wasn't on Amazon yet. Phaedra always stalling, as a good lawyer does, though, low-key. But so this, I always thought that situation was weird because Todd seemed to out of nowhere have an issue with Phaedra. He's like, yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get my money. And my thing is like, if you're really cool with her husband, if this is your best friend, why are you waiting for the best friend, your best friend, to go off to jail, her husband, to finally say something? It made no sense to me. It was like, you kind of waited for Apollo to go off to jail to now bother this single woman with this donkey video when you're claiming you and Apollo are besties. And why wouldn't you reach out to your best friend about this issue? It just seemed, I did not like this in season 9. Another reason I was on Team Phaedra, because I'm like, why wouldn't you have reached out to Apollo way before he went to prison if this was a thing? Like, it just seemed like he was like waiting to catch her in something. So she owed him 2/3 of $25K. And I don't know why they kept saying it like that. So I think she owed him like $12,000 or something, or maybe like, I think it was a little bit over 10,000, or was it 1/3? Let me see. I think 2/3. She still owed 2/3 of 25,000. That's a lot. I think she still owed like 12K, and she didn't even give him all the 12K. I think she gave him like $7,000. But that was what the issue was, because it wasn't distributed on Amazon or something. It wasn't available everywhere. And that's what she was mainly waiting on. So that's kind of a first hiccup we get. And then we get Kandi and Todd admitting to storing Apollo stuff. And that was an issue in season 8. So once they admit it, guess what happens? The FBI is called to their house and they do a whole raid and they confiscate all of Apollo's stuff. This was another thing people were saying they did not like. Also, this season, I believe Kandi and Apollo are opening a restaurant or something, and it's taking forever for them to get their bar license. And they find out that maybe Phaedra has something to do with keeping them from getting it because she has connections in the legal world, of course. So we have all of these things kind of like a domino effect, like something's brewing. And then we have Apollo calling Kandi and Todd and basically complaining about Phaedra and how she still hasn't brought the kids down, or like she doesn't bring them down enough. Like, we get Apollo calling throughout the seasons, which was kind of weird, like once or twice. Like, he called Kandi and Todd to store his items, and then we get him calling Peter about the whole Mr. Chocolate rumors. So like I said, so now we got this whole big blow up. We got the Todd all of a sudden needing some money, and then we have them admitting they were storing his stuff, because it was kind of like they alluded to it last season. They didn't really confirm it. This season they did confirm it, and then that's why it's so funny, because not even after confirming it 24 hours, I think, later, it was kind of like the FBI were at the house to confiscate all of Apollo's stuff. Like, she's like, oh no, get rid of his stuff. So then we have Phaedra was just getting into it with everyone on season 9 in Kandi's role, because then she gets into it with Mama Joyce. My issues with Mama Joyce is that she is very manipulative, very vindictive, a narcissist, and she just wants Kandi's money. And I always felt like Kandi enabled her mom's bad behavior. Her mom didn't like Todd because she saw that as a way of, as money coming out of her pocket, money that had been, with her for the longest. Like, it's kind of like, you're taking money out of my pocket now for getting married and wanting your happy ever after. You know what I mean? Mama Joyce, figured a way to get herself involved into this one. So there was an incident where a client wanted to blow Phaedra the F up. As I try to say that in the most like serious way, this was a whole thing, and Mama Joyce wanted to insert herself in that. I remember there was a brunch, and she was like, "Yeah, I heard you lost a case, and this client threatened to blow you the f up." And then even Kenya's like, "Okay, so we get it. He wanted to blow her the f up," and you could just tell when Phaedra is trying to think about something because she's just like she's like, "What are you talking about?" Like she's like, Queen of Faces. That's what they call her, Queen of Faces. So Mama Joyce and Phaedra are not hitting off. This is a complete change in Mama Joyce's attitude because last season, Mama Joyce was actually rooting for Kandi and Phaedra to figure it out. Unfortunately, they never did. What else happened after that? And then Mama Joyce also got some confessionals. And that's why I'm like, something else was happening off the scenes because Mama Joyce had said that she wouldn't offer to pee on Phaedra if she was on fire. So she like literally hated Phaedra at this point. And then we also get some shade from Phaedra. Phaedra saying she didn't know like why she was so concerned with finding significance in the present life or like this late in life when she should be worried about the afterlife. I live and I stand for Miss Phaedra Parks and her reads. Obviously, you don't talk about her mama. You don't talk about Kandi's mama. Phaedra was talking about her in the blogs. Kandi was going back. She was like, of course she would say that. She don't say nothing to nobody's face. All of this stuff. Just adding fuel to the fire of the reason why these two will never be friends again. Like, ever. So I literally gagged on that. So after that, it's kind of quiet. We got a trip coming up. We got a Maui, Hawaii trip coming up. And that is when some rumors start circulating that Kandi is a lesbian. And Marlo actually asked her, so now we're going back to Maui. We left off on this Maui trip. So the ladies go to a glamping trip in Maui. I don't know why you wouldn't stay at a resort. I mean, that seems like the perfect time to do it. But we get to the table. I'm fast forwarding, y'all. And Marlo asked Kandi, she was like, we heard you are a lesbian. Keep in mind, the men are sitting there now. And this is where we get Portia's infamous, who said that? And, she was like, yes, who said that? And then Marlo was like, you said it, Portia. And she was like, I said that? Like, she just didn't know. And at this moment, I can just tell Phaedra's in on the BS because Phaedra is like this. She's like, sipping her wine very slowly. Like, and even Kenya points it out. She's like, oh, Lord, let's see who was involved in this sort of mess. Like, it was just giving, oh my gosh, don't say I said it. Like she was waiting to see who said that. And then once it was Portia, she was like, oh my gosh, I can relax. Like it wasn't me that said it when she knows it was her that said it. So we get that moment with Marlo basically being on the stand. This was also after Marlo said that horrible, disgusting thing to Kenya about even your mom don't want to be messed with you. All of that stuff. Was Marlo at the season 9 reunion? I know Shamia was. I don't even know if Marlo was there. But so we get that. And I'm sorry, I'm like literally losing my place in my notes. So yes, we get that. And like I said, Phaedra's drinking nervously. She's trying to deflect. She's trying to be like, oh my gosh, don't corner it back over here. And then we get Portia alleging that Kandi and Todd tried to seduce her in the bedroom. So we're back from Maui now. That nothing really came for that besides Kandi wanting that addressed from from Phaedra. She's like, why would you say that? All of that stuff. Yada, yada, yada. Like, she's like, please clear that up if it's not true. But we get back from there. So we get a meetup with Portia and Kandi. And Portia alleges that Kandi and Todd were trying to seduce her, essentially bring her to the bedroom. And this conversation, I know it's supposed to be serious. This is a follow-up from Maui and the allegations Portia has spewed about her being a lesbian and all of that stuff. So we get this follow-up at the meeting of, Portia addressing her and like, hey, like I've been trying to call you, been trying to clear the air, all of that stuff. And Kandi's not here for the BS. She's like, why are you saying this? I mean, even if I was, like, that's not something big. She's like, I've hooked up with women before. And she's like, so have you. And she's kind of like this mirror to Portia. She's like, you're trying to call me out on stuff that I'm already very much open about when you're really doing this stuff. And so we get this back and forth, this whole blowout, the shade, the stout, the teacup, all of this stuff. I remember this like it was yesterday, watching this with my mom, because I watch Atlanta with my mom. So Kandi said they only did that once when Portia's like, I heard you like to bring women into the bedroom. Kandi's like, we've only done that once. Like, what are you talking about? All of that stuff. And Portia essentially is like, you have a sex dungeon and you tried to bring me in there and try to drug me and bring me in there. And obviously drugging, that implies the R word. I don't know if it's going to get bleeped because I upload on YouTube, by the way, video podcasts. I'm not uploading on Spotify podcasts anymore because, well, I am, but I'm not doing the video because I think it messes with my stats or something. So Portia says that, and Kandi's like, what are you talking about? And keep in mind, Kandi don't even drink. She doesn't do drugs. So this is really left field. I'm going to back it up a little bit. Before this meeting, 2 days before this meeting, Phaedra told Portia all of this information, which we will revisit again once we get to the reunion. But Phaedra is the one that was dropping all these dimes to Portia 2 days before her meeting on camera with Kandi. Some other stuff that happens in this talk, Kandi claims that Portia wanted to eat her. You know what I mean? I'm putting on YouTube. I don't want to say it. You know, y'all remember this conversation. It's so awkward me telling it. And she said this all happened after a steamy makeout, all of this stuff. Todd was there. Todd even remembers this. He said, yeah, we went to Waffle House after. And then Portia's like, I would never do that. And then Portia also claims that she was in a 7-year relationship with a woman and she called it off. All of this stuff because she called it off because people started to find out she was a lesbian. A bunch of stuff. She also alleged that she was sleeping with people in the R&B groups, and Kandi's like, I only met you through my ex, but not her ex, but well, yeah, her ex, Riley's dad, who works in the music industry. That's how Kandi met Portia, because Portia was messing with some musician, and I guess he's a producer, her baby daddy or something, her first baby daddy. So she was like, that don't even make sense. And what else did I write down? Because I wrote something down that had me LOLing. Like, Portia was like, I know you and Ty like to bring women and flop them all up in the bed like pancakes. Like, Portia was just saying stuff. Portia knew she was just saying stuff because it made no sense. I was like, what is she talking about? And he's like, what? Like, you're just making that up now. She's like, you literally just made that up. Portia did. She literally had just made that up. I don't know why, but that was hilarious. So the ladies are just going back and forth. Kandi's like, you wanted to eat this. This isn't rotten. This tastes like sugar. Portia's like, I'm not into tea stouts, short. She's not into tea. Something she said that was very tea. It was funny. Did I write it down what she said? I don't think I wrote down what she said. But yeah, that was that. We're going to fast forward to the reunion, talk a little bit about the aftermath. But as you can see, that's kind of where it started. The reunion was the biggest revelation because we figure out where those rumors come from. Like I said, it was Phaedra. Because Phaedra actually told Portia this 2 days before her meeting with Kandi. That was on screen what we saw, the whole blow up, the whole, you wanted to do this, you wanted to do that. It was just reality TV go, but stuff really got real at the reunion. Phaedra's performance this reunion, and Phaedra normally performs well. People say because she has rehearsed reads. I don't know. The reunion performance for season 9 was heavily devastating, disappointing, and just terrible. She was mum's the word the whole time. I think she knew that conversation between Portia and Kandi was going to be addressed, and she did not want to get to that segment of the show yet. Some things leading up to that, or I can't remember if this happened after, but some things definitely leading up to the big revelation. This was a 4-part reunion as well, but there was a Johnny situation. So this also happened during the season. Phaedra, one of her clients she represented was Johnny Winston III. And this man in the past had filed a lawsuit against Kandi, and Kandi coded entertainment, saying that he worked long hours and he submitted to work overtime. This is a contractor. And that he was denied it multiple times, but he still did OT, and Kandi did not pay him OT. And even Andy's like, well, how much is this? Like $5,000 that you probably owe him, up to $5,000. And she was like, no, he's alleging I owe him $100,068, which was just crazy. Or I think it was $100,000. It was an insane amount for OT. And she's saying, and the thing is with the lawsuit, her whole thing was the counterclaim about how, her counterclaim was that he was an independent contractor. So even if he did work OT, he was not eligible to all of those hours because he's a contractor. He's not a full employee. Also, in the lawsuit, he alleged that he came up with the idea and the name for Old Lady Gang restaurant, which was, essentially based on her aunt and her mom. Also, I'm so upset that show never came back, but he claimed that he actually came up with the idea and the name. So Portia was representing this man. Of course she was. Did she win the case? I don't know. But Phaedra ended up representing him, and they talk about that package on the reunion and how Kandi said she just knows Phaedra does this stuff to come at her business because everyone knows that Kandi is a businesswoman. It's like, you're trying to mess with my reputation. And she just knew she did that to get under her skin. And Andy's even like, well, you can understand if the shoes were reversed that you would feel a type of way, Phaedra. And she's playing it off like, no, I wouldn't. And then Kandi brings up the Angela Stanton of it all. Angela Stanton was this woman that wrote a whole book on Miss Phaedra Parks called The Lies of a Real Housewife. Angela and Phaedra apparently were really good friends at one point, and Phaedra would eventually go on to represent her as her attorney. Angela ended up going to jail for car theft and something else very similar to Apollo's first time in jail. She would go on to represent her, but Angela claimed that Phaedra was actually the mastermind behind all of this, and how she's a fraud, and how she promised her all this stuff that she would stick beside her, and Angela basically took the fall for them. That was a whole book. Phaedra ended up suing that woman. So Kandi compares the situations to that. She's like, you bringing on Johnny is like if I had that lady up in here with that book, that the book she tried to sell to me multiple times. And Phaedra's gagged. She's silent because she doesn't know what to say, because she didn't think that was going to be brought up. She's like, well, I've sued that woman. I have a lawsuit. And then Kandi's like, well, what did you win out of that? Because the book is still out there. I've never watched it. But she just basically said it's like the same thing. And it was a very fair comparison. Even Kenya was gagged. She was like, oh my gosh, you brought that out. And it just, even back in the day, that people were saying Phaedra was a fraud. And people were saying she knew what Apollo was doing as well. I'm on my Phaedra stuff. I'm just making faces and I'm expected to get paid for it. So I noted this in my notes. I was just like, Phaedra is super nervous. She just keeps biting her lip like the whole time as things are getting brought up. So let's get into the huge revelation of it all, because we are going to spend some time on it. So Andy's like, Portia, why would you think that Kandi would want to drug and capital R you? And Portia essentially is like, I've been served a cease and desist from Kandi. I cannot talk about it. Therefore, I'm going to give it to Phaedra to talk about, because she is the one that told me that. the rumors, the nastiness, confirmed. The smoking gun, confirmed. So apparently, allegedly, Phaedra was the one this whole time that had told Portia that they had planned to drug and R her and bring her to their sex dungeon. And you can just tell Phaedra is so nervous. She's just like she's not saying anything. Like, no quick, like, not defending herself. She was just like, well, I heard this rumor. I just repeated it. And Kandi is in just utter shock. She's in disbelief. She's like, you said that? They couldn't believe it was her. And at this point, Todd is out there as well, too. Todd is out there because, of course, he wants to know who's saying this about him as well. So Phaedra says that she repeated this rumor because she heard it. And Portia turns to her in shock and disgust, which I think was such a front. They were both in on it. And the fact that Portia got away with it unscathed will always be a mystery to me. But she looking at her, she's like, that's not what you had told me, Phaedra. You called me and you said that she told you this when y'all were friends. So that's what I was saying earlier in my episode. When Portia is talking to Kandi about the rumors and about the drug thing, this situation had allegedly happened 3 years ago. And Phaedra had called her up before this meeting. She wanted to feed Portia's head with stuff to say. She was like, oh, you should say this, you should say this. And also, she did this too. She was trying to do this with you. You know, she likes to date women, screw women. You know, her and Shamia were seeing each other the time Shamia and Portia were friends. And Shamia and Portia, this was a huge issue in their relationship, Phaedra and Portia's close friendship, because Phaedra lies on Shamia having an intimate relationship with Kandi. And at this time, which we're seeing now play out in season 16, or we're connecting the dots, Shamia is engaged to Gerald, who ends up being on Atlanta. That is her husband. She's engaged to him at the time. And these rumors are so damaging that he thought these were true as well. Phaedra she just set up a whole thing. She set up a whole thing. So, gosh, there's just so much stuff. I'm trying to see what else happened. Okay, so then, like I said, Phaedra's super nervous. So that's where that rumor came from 3 years ago. And she's saying Kandi told her this to Portia. But now when she's at the reunion, she's saying she heard this rumor and she repeated it. But Portia's like, no, you did not. You told me this personally. What are you talking about? You told me. She said that I would never have repeated this if you thought it was a rumor. And Phaedra's on mute. She has nothing to say. She has nothing to say because she's caught red-handed. It's so embarrassing. It's so uncomfortable to watch how she tries to lie her way out. Well, she couldn't even lie her way out of it because she was so wrong. It was so uncomfortable. Like, I rewatched that scene before recording, just because I wanted to put myself back in that when I was watching it the first time. She's just so wrong, and she has nothing to say. She doesn't even say sorry, anything. She doesn't say sorry in that moment. She's just like, I heard this. I mean, like, she's literally tripping over her words because it's such a lie. And they're all just like, I cannot believe you said that. Portia begins to cry crocodile tears. She's like, I would never have brought this to the table if this was not true. And even Kenya and Todd are like, oh my gosh, don't cry now. Like, their commentary, I was living for it, because they're like, don't try to cry now. Like I said, Phaedra's on mute. She just claims that she repeated it. She claims that she's the villain now. She didn't take any ownership. Kandi gets so frustrated repeating this story back. And it's basically like, you really accused me of being an R. And she storms off. She's like, you just know what this can do to my reputation. And that's kind of the big the big nail in the coffin. And it changes Portia's future. I mean, Portia's future, and it changes Phaedra's future on the show forever. She was totally blacklisted. People still hate her to this day. All of that stuff. This really changed the opinion of many people on Phaedra. And in the words of Nene, you never win when you play dirty. I feel like, and this is my opinion, Phaedra got caught up. And let's talk about it. Where did she get this rumor from that Todd and Kandi have a sex dungeon? And they use that to drug and R women to convince them to come in the room. So there is a current story, 2024, of T.I. and Tiny. Currently, they went through a lawsuit. The lawsuit was dismissed by the judge. There was a woman, I think she was a former WNBA player, alleging that T.I. and Tiny had drugged and sexually assaulted her, allegedly. And this made it to the press. This was whole New York Times. Maybe it was New York Times. It was a whole articles, everything, disbelief, shock. This was in 2024 when this all came out. A lot of people were saying once this came out, did Phaedra have the right information? Wrong person. Tiny and Kandi were in the same group, Escape. Did she have the right information? Wrong person. Because a lot of people were saying once this came out about T.I. and Tiny, this was a known thing. How this got dismissed is beyond me. I'm not in the law, but it did get dismissed. How there was no proven legalities that came out of this or any proven stuff is beyond me, because it seemed kind of true in my opinion. But people are saying Phaedra was fed, or Phaedra even said she was fed that rumor from a producer, and she had alluded that this producer was Carlos King. Carlos King has denied that day in, day out. He said he did not feed that rumor to her, but she still alleges a producer did. I don't know if she ever said Carlos, but she did allude to a producer, and we do know he was working that season. I think that was his last season, season 9, to ever work for Atlanta. And then he did his own stuff, Love and Marriage, all of that stuff. But that was his last, and I think he may have gotten fired just from Phaedra mentioning the rumors or something, that he had told her that. So the biggest lesson, of course, is like not to repeat something you hear that's not true. But then also, was this true? Just wrong person. Either way, if you had even thought it was true, Phaedra, so many people, Phaedra was wrong. And I can full-heartedly say that. But let's talk about where we are now. So this is explosive. Phaedra got fired, rightfully so, because these are serious accusations. And she would be fired from Atlanta as long as Kandi is on there. And I find it so interesting because the minute Kandi announces her departure from the show, Bravo is calling up Phaedra Parks. And that's why I say to this day, did Phaedra, was she fed that rumor? Because if she wasn't fed that rumor, if production knew, if Andy knew, if Bravo knew, NBC Universal knew she was fed this rumor, she would be asked back shortly once Kandi leaves. But if she made up this rumor, she wouldn't be asked back. Phaedra is back on Real Housewives of Atlanta as of season 16. But before all of this, she was getting death threats. Her kids were getting death threats. I think she had to change homes. She had to basically go into witness protection program because these were some serious allegations. I'm not saying she should have went through all of that, but I am saying there should have been some serious legal actions. I'm shocked Kandi didn't sue her. Kandi swore that she would never talk to her again. They would never be friends again, that she would never welcome her in. As long as she's on Atlanta, Phaedra wouldn't be. So the fact that Kandi is off of Atlanta and now Phaedra is back in, it just says something bigger. It's like, is it Bravo just thirsty for ratings? Like, oh my gosh, we need to get Phaedra back. Or did she have something to do with that at all? Or was she fed it? I think about that a lot. And people think I'm on Phaedra's side. But this happened in season 9, y'all. Either way, for the sake of reality TV and Real Housewives of Atlanta, we got to move on. So when people, I continue to say this, when people are like, I can only Sutton said that to Dorit about the wallet comment. We have Atlanta, where Phaedra has completely lied on a castmate, some serious accusations about drugging and sexually assaulting people. And she has been able to come back on reality TV. But like, when we're talking about Beverly Hills, we've had so much bigger stuff than a wallet comment. We've had so much bigger stuff. We've had Giselle lie on Candace's husband about him coming on to her and coming on to multiple women. Literally walking Candace and her husband off the show. We've had more serious stuff. The Kandi versus Phaedra friendship fallout will probably be one of the darkest times in reality TV, because it's like, for you to get that low with someone that you used to be friends with and really try to bury their name in the industry, blacklist them on allegations that were completely false, allegations that had no truth to them. Or did they? Not towards Kandi, though. I'm saying towards T.I. and Tiny. I mean, the stories are very similar of the former WNBA player saying what happened. The stories are very similar. That's why we're like, was she fed this information from someone? The way Portia was able to come out of this unscathed completely. She came back the season right after. This was very dark. So Phaedra, like I said, she literally basically had a death sentence in the entertainment world. She went into hiding. It was just in 2023, we see a reappearance of Phaedra, and she's on Real Housewives of Dubai, and she comes on as Lisa Milan's friend, if I'm not mistaken. Just a quick little check-in, and it was so crazy to see her. People were so happy because it's been about nearly a decade since season 9. Season 9 premiered in 2016 for Real Housewives of Atlanta, and it is now 2025. It has been nearly a decade since all of that stuff happened. So it's like, when time goes on, I guess life goes on. People kind of forgive you. But definitely one of the biggest house villains, or villains in all reality TV. So she eventually came back to Dubai. After that, she went on, I think it was Traders. After Traders, she went on Married to Medicine. And she's off Married to Medicine. Thank the Lord. And now she is back on Atlanta as soon as Kandi leaves. Kandi left Atlanta. Kandi was too big for the show. She was already so busy filming. I remember season 15, she couldn't make a lot of stuff. She was very booked and busy. I think now she has a play with Denzel Washington. Kandi has continued to skyrocket. I wonder if she watches the show. Because last time she saw Phaedra was all of that. They have ran into each other. I remember Andy asking Phaedra on Watch What Happens Live, like, do you see Kandi? Have y'all talked? And I don't even think they've talked since that. Like I said, Kandi stormed off the reunion season 9. She was in utter disgust, utter disbelief, as anyone would be when you find out a former friend is like literally accusing you of some serious, crazy things that you know did not happen. Kandi still watches the show, but when she can, she's super busy. Phaedra's back on the show. She came back on to film the last 2 weeks. Phaedra, I did talk about this in one of my episodes, my recaps, that this is what she had to say about coming back. Even her tagline is, I'm back, like, can we now bury the past or something? Because she knows coming back, she's going to get a lot of heat. She's going to get a lot of flag. It's coming back on. I mean, it's all back now. It's like you're seeing a ghost from the past. And then she also said, like, last time you saw me, I was not in my best. I mean, she was literally quiet. It was not her best at all. First time she didn't have any shade backed up. She said she wasn't in her best, or she wasn't at her best. And she said, thou shall not throw stones and hide their hands, or whatever. Basically saying thou shall not judge if you yourself are not perfect. And that's the only accountability we got. I hope she apologized to Kandi, but to this day, we really just don't know. I think she remains very aloof of the fallout with Kandi. She's very much like, you don't really know everything that happened, but she still maintains that that information was fed to her. And I do believe that, because I do not believe if she really did have something to do with this, Bravo and Andy Cohen would let her back on. She is one of Andy's favorites. He loves that she's back. He loves it. I do think it was kind of like collateral damage of Phaedra. Like, hey. And I think they fed it to her. Portia was collateral damage too. And they're like, okay, let's see. To try to just knock Kandi off her game. It didn't work. Kandi continues to thrive as she should, but Phaedra is back on reality TV. You can't really compare how the two are doing because Kandi's out here working with Denzel Washington while Phaedra is back on Atlanta. Not to say one's, but I'm just saying Kandi's kind of soaring in life. I'm glad Phaedra, though, is able to come back on Real Housewives of Atlanta, and I hope we can move forward. Very dark history, though. Very dark moment, and 100% team Kandi. But thank you so much for listening to What the Reality with me, Kasha Roberts. We did a deep dive. Listen to part 1 if you haven't. I did a deep dive on the friendship fallout between Kandi Burruss and Phaedra Parks. If you did not listen to part 1, make sure you listen to it. If you want to watch me talk about it and make my faces as Phaedra does, make sure you tune into my YouTube channel and make sure you subscribe, because that's where I will be posting my videos from now on. I'm not posting them on Spotify. Spotify will be audio only because I think that's better for my analytics. But if you want to watch my pretty face talk about this crazy stuff, all of my episodes are uploaded, and just binge them all. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Looking forward to the next What's the Reality topic on What the Reality. I think I'm kind of in the friendship fallout mood. I might move to another housewife infamous friendship fallout, or I might start focusing on people. I really want it to just be deep dives on pop culture moments, individuals, reality TV stars, and their relationships with other celebrities, entertainment stars, reality TVs. But obviously right now what I'm very comfortable with is reality TV. Thank you so much for listening. Until the next time. Period. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, What the Reality with me, Kasha Roberts. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and a comment wherever you listen to your podcast. Let me know what I should be doing. Let me know how I'm doing. All compliments are welcome. Until the next time.